3-3 against each other. I'm Al Potvin, the voice of the Grizzlies. I'd like to welcome everybody here to the Grizzly Den. We're going to go over today's agenda a little bit. I'm going to recap last week's game. What a phenomenal game last week was. We're going to take a look at the matchup between the Bulldogs and the Grizzlies, and then we're going to introduce our special guest. You're looking at him right now, Principal Frank McBride. Frank, welcome to the show. Glad you could make it.
Pleasure to be here.
Let's get started right away. Nashua South, 2 words for that game. Fast start. Immediately, first play of the game, interception, Andrew Duval. Immediately, the next play, first play on offense, 60-yard touchdown by this young guy, Connor Moore. Let's go! Coach Huff had to say about the game was that the offensive line played well. When the offensive line plays well, what do? You run the ball. And that's exactly what the Grizzlies did. They ran the ball. They ran it so much we had 3 carriers, over 100 yards. Connor Bork, Carter Cormier, and Casey Gervais, all well over 100 yards. Connor Bork, Casey Gervais, and Nick Moquin, 2 touchdowns apiece. Let's go through the early possessions of the game. First play, Connor Bork, 60-yard touchdown, 7-0. Second possession of the game, Casey Gervais from the 3-yard line, touchdown. Andrew Duval, crisscross, applesauce, 3 times, enters the end zone, 21-0. Touchdown. Casey Gervais with the 40-yard keeper, in and out, scrambling all over, touchdown, 28-0. Sixth possession of the game. Actually, the 5th was the only time the Grizzlies didn't score. They let the clock run out right before the half. 6th possession, 35-0. Nick Moquin, 10-yard run, touchdown. 7th possession, great setup, 36-yard run by Carter Cormier. Nick Moquin, 19-yard run, and what did he do? Touchdown! 9th possession of the game, 49-0. Carter Cormier diving at the pylon into the end zone from 22 yards. He made it 49-0 at the half. What did he do? Touchdown! And then to close things out, we had the sophomore Handrahan. 5 yards out. What did he do? Touchdown! The only time the Grizzlies didn't score that game was right before the clock ran out, right at the defense, right at the half. Let's talk about the defense. As much as we talk about the offense, and I love to talk about the offense, and I love to talk about touchdown! You got to talk about the Grizzly defense, the stand that they're making this year. Not one team has scored more than 14 points. In fact, it took Nashua South Panthers to the 3rd quarter to even cross the 50-yard line. Now, here's an interesting part. They crossed the 50-yard line in the 2nd quarter. They made it to the 48. They ultimately punted from their own 48. The Grizzlies stuffed them, knocked them back. They didn't even cross and hold the possession for 4 downs in the Grizzly zone. Kudos to the defense. Let's talk a little more about the defense. Jack Nordine. Is Jack here in the crowd? League-leading 5 sacks. Had another sack on the day. Grizzly defense held the Panthers in the first half to only 47 yards. Folks, we can't say enough. Last week was a super game. If you have a chance on a Friday night to go some of these stadiums, they're terrific that we have around the state. State has done a super job. Now, what we've all been waiting for, let's talk about the matchup. This is a matchup where the teams have played 6 times in school history. It's been an even game, whether it's Red Sox, Yankees, Celtics, Lakers, or the Bulldogs and Grizzlies. After 6 times, it's an even match. It's 3-3. What's going to happen this week? The only way to determine that is to take a look at what's happened in the past. When we take a look at what Bedford has done against Nashua North, they beat them 48-0. Goffstown played Nashua North, beat them 35-6. Nashua South on the docket. Bedford cleaned them up at 67-27. Take note that they actually scored 27 points, which has never happened on a Grizzly field. South 61-14. We just talked about that one. Yeah. Woo! The Blackbirds from Keene go into Bedford 47-3. The Grizzlies dismantle the Blackbirds 37-14. The other 2 games that Bedford had played was BG and Memorial 43, and again they let up 22 points. They played Memorial 49-0. The Grizzlies played Concord 42-7, our opening game here at the Grizzly Den. In Elvern, we dismantled the Broncos 51-14. That gives us a grand total, folks. If you're taking notes, if you have your pad of paper, it's 256 points for the Bulldogs and only 52 points scored against them. When you look at the Grizzlies, it's 226 points and 55 scored against them. Folks, what I'm going to have to say is this. This young man here, numerous others in the background, this young man here, these are the starters on the team. Very rarely do they even see the third quarter when they play Goffstown. That's the difference that we make. That's the difference of what the scores would make. 51 points is what the Bulldogs are averaging on offense. The Grizzlies are averaging 45. The points allowed, Grizzlies are allowing 11 points to Bedford's 10.4. Very, very close. But the sacks and the defense is where we lead. And our sack leading, league leading 5 with Jack Nordine is certainly an imposing threat. Some individual stats and some leaders on the rushing side of the ball. For Bedford Bulldogs, Nick Leahy, number 1 in the state, 541 yards, 13 touchdowns. Again, plays much more than just 2 quarters of a football game, is what I'm hearing from a source. To Connor Bork, our leading rusher, 538 yards with 9 touchdowns. When it comes to passing, I'd take Casey Gervais all day long. I haven't even seen this, Connor Robert, but Casey is the man. 35 attempts, 35 completion on 59 attempts, 559 yards for 6 touchdowns, Frank, and 320 yards and 7 touchdowns rushing. Connor Robert, the quarterback for the Bulldogs, 31 completions for 45 attempts, 7 touchdowns, 561 yards. But guess what, Grizzlies? He's thrown 2 interceptions. Receiving. Every good football team has depth, and that's exactly what Coach Huff has on this particular football team. The Bulldogs have 1 receiver with 1 touchdown, 200 yards receiving. That's Husan. The Grizzlies have much more than that. Let's start with Frankie Castillo-Diaz. Over 200 yards, 233 yards, in fact, receiving for 3 touchdowns. You want to spread out the ball? How about the man in motion, the sophomore, the interception king on defense, but on offense, he picks up over 100 yards with 1 touchdown on the season as well. Folks, I got to tell you, it's going to come down to the defense, and that's really what I think the Grizzlies are going to be their strong point. When we look at the Grizzly offense, Frank, we really see a much better, a much more diversified offense. It's almost like I've been telling all my friends, they're like, how good are the Grizzlies doing? I'm like, well, when you look at the Grizzlies, think of the Patriots, but only Tom Brady can run. That's what we have here at the Grizzlies. We have a tight end. We have a great quarterback. We have a great running back. We have a great wide receiver. We have a great slot receiver. Oh, let's count a couple of them, Frank. 1, 2, and 3. The weapons are going to be all deployed on the Bulldogs. The Grizzlies are going to go on for a victory, is my prediction. Folks, let's bring up our special guest, Frank McBride, the principal here at Goffstown High School. Frank, you've done an amazing job. I've known you for the last couple of years now, and really what I wanted to first say is congratulations. It's been come to my attention that the U.S. News and World Report recently gave the high school a silver award. Could you tell us a little bit about that?
Short version, and we'll get back to the football, is we've been lucky the last few years to be recognized by U.S. News and World Report. Basically, it's based on state test data, advanced placement scores, percentage of kids taking advanced placement tests. So we've been very pleased to be recognized, and I'm happy for our staff and our students. We have a great group here at Goffstown High School.
Yeah,
so
Frank, it's just kudos to you again. It's just, at the end of the day, we're talking about football, but really, these are still kids. They're what they call student athletes, and if my memory serves me right, the word student comes first. And at the end of the day, it's all about a good education, and if they can have a great football career, that's even more powerful.
Absolutely.
You know, Frank, since you've been here, would you say that this is going to be the biggest Goffstown football game in your tenure?
There's been some big ones, but clearly I've never seen hype like this before.
Absolutely.
This has been talked about for a long, long time. And just to have the 5-0 with both of the local teams so close together, and you've mentioned it, and I want to dive back into it. We're really good this year. We're really good this year.
Yes, we are. You know, Frank, just coming into the auditorium today because of the rain, you know, you can't help but feel the energy, feel the excitement. Can you tell us a little bit about what it's like leading up to the week with all the excitement level prepping for the game?
Well, in just the week for Goffstown High School, homecoming week is a big week. Kids take it very seriously. We just had a great assembly. Football in particular, again, I'm told through coach and players, been a great week of preparation and practice. Kids are very, very excited. And again, I've never seen the community so behind a particular game, and I think we hope to have thousands of people here to cheer on our great team tomorrow.
My prediction as far as that goes, Frank, I think we're going to have probably the record-setting crowd here at the Grizzly Den. I'm really excited. Just two last quick questions. Homecoming. Obviously, homecoming is a special week in the school year that all the students look forward to. Does it make it that much more special that it's against the rivalry, the Bulldogs?
I would say definitely it does, and just again in particular, just with having such two great teams at the top of the state at Division I with the 5-0, and I haven't done my homework, so I haven't seen Bedford. I've just watched the scores, but clearly our team, and I've said it, and it's worth reiterating. I've watched so many kids work so hard in the fitness center, in the weight room. They've been together now for several years. Big, fast, strong, great coaching staff. I just think they're incredibly prepared, and it's going to be nice to see a really top-notch game between two great high school teams.
Lastly, Frank, here's the tough part, or I think it's the easy part. What's your prediction? Give me a score of the game tomorrow.
So I have not seen Bedford. Full disclosure, I have not seen Bedford. I think we're really, really good on all three phases, as Belichick would say.
I'm going to agree with you.
And so I love our offense. I think strong kicking game. But the thing that I think makes the difference, not seeing Bedford, our defense is incredibly fast and strong. I love how we pursue. And I think time and space makes some teams look good. If they don't have time and space, which is what I've seen all our opponents happen to our opponents, I'm giving the edge to the Grizzlies because of the speed and strength of our defense.
That's great. I'm right with you. Speaking about the program to finish up here, Frank, we look at the JV team. The JV is 5-0. We look at the freshmen. The freshmen are 4-2. You got to be thrilled when you're looking at the future of the program, not just the success of this year, but the future of the program coming up.
Again, I think it starts at the top. Absolutely, Justin Huff, I think, is the best coach in the state. He's put together an amazing coaching staff. The kids buy in. They work hard. They're good student athletes. And I think, again, the sky is the limit. And there's some underclassmen this year big time contributing to this team.
Absolutely. Just to wrap up this segment, I want to do a big shout-out to the athletic trainer. That's Beth Round. She really does a super job. It's been a long time coming on the shout-out, Beth, but I knew I'd get it to you. And there it is. There's your shout-out to Beth. All right, so here it is, folks. Here's my prediction. When you think about the Goffstown Grizzlies, I always think of Newt Rockne, the famous football coach of Notre Dame. He said football is a game that's played with arms, legs, shoulders, but most importantly, it's played from the neck up. And that's exactly what I think about when I think about the Grizzlies. Whether it's the coaching staff, whether it's the offense or the defense, they make smart plays. Besides their athleticism, they're a very smart football team. And when you take a look at the early game against Concord, you take a look at the early game against Keene, you see the disciplinary or the mistakes that they've made on the penalties. You see the progress to now playing teams where very rarely do you see a flag go down. And that's just nothing more than discipline and commitment and intelligence. So I think they've really done a good job, and that quote always comes to mind. When you look at the speed of the linebackers especially, this is where Coach Huff has a lot to say. The speed of the linebackers, when you see a contributor like Joey Poisson as a sophomore coming in, I mean, the kid is just a phenomenal athlete, contributing as a sophomore. You see him add to the aggressiveness of Ian Ruthier. Then you see the ends of Tyler Small and Cam Bond, and the defensive ends of Timmy Como, and the D-backs like Zach Como. The defense is what really impresses me an awful lot. I know we talk about the offense a lot, but I wanted to take the opportunity to kudos to the defense. I'm real excited to see that. And like we said, the defense or the offense just basically has more weapons to deploy. That's really what we had to say. So my prediction here is 28-14. We're going to have the Grizzlies on top, and I'm hoping that we get to kick off first, and I want to just hit them in the mouth hard. I'd like to thank Frank McBride for joining us today. I'm Al Parkman, the voice of the Grizzlies. Come on down, and we're going to see you at the Grizzly Den. Thanks for tuning in.